Yo, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to the DLloyd NBA podcast. We have a pretty good episode for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the Kevin Durant and the CJ McCollum feud on Twitter. We're also going to be talking about Dwyane Wade, and he now has a timetable as to when he has to decide when he wants to go to China or if he wants to stay and play in the NBA. And Lamar Odom is also returning to the game of basketball. So that's going to be interesting as well. But the first story we're going to be talking about is a couple of signings. And one of the signings I think is extremely underrated, but I do like the signing a lot, is Hamidou Diallo. He is signing a 3-year, $4 million contract with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, Diallo coming out of Kentucky. You know, that's my stomping grounds. That's where I graduated from. He was actually on campus as I was leaving, but I did see the hype when he was coming and he was arriving. A lot of people excited. This kid is crazy athletic. The athleticism from Diallo is definitely out of this world. So he was able to practice with the team before he actually played for Kentucky last season. So while he was practicing, he even considered going straight to the NBA draft without ever playing an official game for Kentucky. And when you looked at where he was slotted to go, it was late first rounders. Some teams had him, but most teams had him going in round number 2. So he decided, why not go back, come back for a year and play at Kentucky? So he did just that. And during his year at UK, it was definitely up and down. Didn't quite live up to the expectation and the hype that he had, but the athleticism was definitely there. And you see spots where he came in and he looked fantastic. He only shot 33% though from the three-point line. So that is a little bit concerning, especially out of a guard that you want in Diallo. You want him to be able to stretch the floor out a little bit. But he did improve as the season went on. He's still going to shoot, in that mid 40% range from the field as well. But driving to the basket, he looked fantastic. Finishing at the rim, he also looked good throughout the year. And admittedly, probably wasn't used in the best situation while at Kentucky. So he was definitely a third option, sometimes even the fourth option on the court, especially as the season went on. But he looked very, very good in Summer League after being the last player from Kentucky drafted. Looked very good in Summer League. And now he's going to get a 3-year, $4 million contract with OKC. So I think it's a great value. You're buying into the, into the potential of Diallo. He's not going to contribute right away, but you're hoping maybe after a couple months in the league, maybe even after a couple years, he could finally develop and come into his own. Like I said, looked very promising during the Summer League. So I think this is a very, very good, yet very, very underrated signing, but it's definitely interesting and something that, if you're an OKC fan, you should be pretty excited about, because I think it's going to be a very, very good signing. Now, we're also going to be talking about Vince Carter, who also signed. I made a video about this on my YouTube channel yesterday, but he also signed a 1-year, $2.4 million contract with the Atlanta Hawks. So, yes, a veteran minimum deal. We knew Vince Carter wasn't getting much more than that. A lot of players signing veteran minimum deals, especially with the climate this summer. But Vince Carter going to Atlanta, I have to admit, that was not a destination I envisioned when I knew Vince Carter was out. I was hoping maybe at some point he could come to contract negotiation and agree on terms and go back to Toronto and finish another season with Toronto. You hope this may be his last year. This is 21 years in the NBA. Vince Carter, Dirk Nowitzki, the only two players to play 21 seasons in the NBA. It's crazy. But you would hope that this may be the last season for Vince Carter. He still has some left in the tank. I just don't want to see him continuing to play. I feel like maybe even coaching could be in the future for Vince Carter. And essentially what he's going to Atlanta to do, yes, he's going to play, but he really is going to Atlanta to be a mentor to some of these young players they have down there. Atlanta has an extremely young locker room. So bringing in a veteran presence like Vince Carter, of course, they got Jeremy Lin as well, another veteran presence. Bringing in those guys can help out a lot of these young guys in Atlanta. I don't see them competing. I know some people say they could be a sleeper. I don't see any way they're truly, truly competing this season. I think this is another year they're just trying to get some of the young guys work. I think eventually they can get to that point where they are competing. I don't think it's going to be right now at all. But we'll see what happens. I like Vince Carter, though. I think he can help out just about any locker room. I think he'll help out this locker room as well. So Vince Carter going there, definitely going to be a pretty good look, in my opinion. Veteran minimum deal, not losing anything if you're Atlanta. Just kind of wait and see what happens type of deal. But it's going to definitely be interesting. Now, the big topic we're going to talk about, a lot of news outlets are going to be talking about this as well. Kevin Durant, CJ McCollum, they got into a little quote-unquote feud on Twitter. Now, CJ McCollum, he said it wasn't a feud. A lot of people are going to take it as some shots being thrown. Now, on CJ McCollum's podcast, Pull Up, he had Kevin Durant on, and he was explaining how he was a little heated and he was hot when he found out that the Golden State Warriors were going to be signing DeMarcus Cousins. He felt like essentially a lot of these great players going to the same team could be a soft move. But while explaining that, Kevin Durant said, why are you mad about these things? Because he was saying he was upset when he signed with the Warriors. He was also upset when Kevin Durant signed with the Warriors. He said, why are you upset with these things? And McCollum had a great response. He said, dude, I'm in the league. I play you guys every single year, multiple times per year. And you guys are essentially stacking everybody out there. So it was definitely interesting to see Kevin Durant on the podcast, but then Kevin Durant just asking, like, why are you upset? As if he hasn't heard any of the criticism from the media over the years, or like this is the first time a player has admitted to him that he didn't like him signing with the Golden State Warriors, or the fact that he didn't like him signing with the DeMarcus Cousins signing with the Golden State Warriors. Now, we know CJ McCollum called DeMarcus Cousins up after he heard he was signing with the Warriors, and he pleaded him to try to change his mind. He did not want this to actually happen. However, it didn't happen. Eventually, he's still going to sign with them anyway. So after the podcast went out, a lot of people started talking about it because Kevin Durant, he laughed it off. He said, dude, you guys aren't winning a championship anyway. CJ McCollum, he also feels he has a team that could at least compete. So, of course, you could tell maybe it wasn't quite right there. It was definitely a little awkward. But at the same time, there is that little feud that's in there. That could just be the competitive gene between both of these guys. CJ McCollum, he has pride. Yes, the Portland Trail Blazers, many people don't have them winning championship. Many people don't have them as one of the best teams in the Western Conference. We know they're a very, very good and talented team. But when we're ranking our top 3 teams, most people aren't going to put the Portland Trail Blazers up there, especially with the current roster, without adding a lot of depth and a lot of help to that front court. But CJ McCollum, he still has confidence in his team. And that's what you're supposed to do when you are a player. So he feels you can't compete, but the other teams, they keep getting bigger. Now, after the podcast was out, after people started talking about Kevin Durant laughing at the Blazers' chances of winning a championship, he took to Twitter. Now, this is CJ McCollum. He was answering another guy or Barstool Big Cat, who said, hey, CJ McCollum, permission to start using the B word again for KD. And this is what CJ McCollum responded with. He said, I still think the B word is harsh and shouldn't be used. He know that decision was soft, but I respect it. It's like getting jumped with your brothers by a gang. You should have beat them, then joining the gang that jumped you and your brothers 2 months later and forgetting about your bros. And then 30 minutes later, of course, Kevin Durant, he had his clapback. He had his response. And this is what he said. He said, so I would just get into a gang fight, lose, plot on my brother for 2 months in our home, and then go get the gang we lost to and beat him up? You think that low of me, CJ? I just did your effing podcast. Snakes in the grass, boy, I tell you. So Kevin Durant clearly didn't appreciate what CJ McCollum had to say on Twitter. And that's just when people start feeling the beef is coming on. We don't know exactly what's going on. CJ McCollum, he didn't respond right away. But, of course, Kevin Durant did. And he responded to Nate Jones in particular, who said, all KD's response to criticism should be, I'm happy. That's all that matters. Nothing more. Keep it simple. 2 years later, and folks still analyzing it. Folks going to disagree and not ever like the decision no matter what. So it's pointless to say anything anymore. And what Nate Jones says is absolutely true. In my opinion, people are never really going to respect what Kevin Durant did. And Kevin Durant really needs to accept this at this point, that nobody's going to appreciate what he did. Really, the only chance you could having of erasing somewhat what you did would be to leave Golden State and get your own team and take them to the promised land. But regardless of what Kevin Durant had to say, back to Nate Jones. So they keep talking, but I have to shut up. Sounds fishy to me. But you know what? I'm not even allowed to be on here since I'm in the NBA. Let me fall back. My bad. So that was Kevin Durant's response. He still went on to talk to a couple more people on Twitter as well. He said a lot of stuff. He said, okay, last tweet. So me talking about my life is sensitive, and you talking about my life is with 4 question marks. So Kevin Durant clearly in his feelings once again. At the same time, he has to understand this is always going to come back. This is a part of his legacy now, and he decided to make this move. And when you make that move, you know Kevin Durant has his own PR people. He has his own agents. He has his own people who should have been advising him that you can make this move, but you know the backlash that's going to come from it. I'm all for players having the freedom to go wherever you want to. But you also got to know there's going to be repercussions and consequences to the actions that you do. And perception is absolutely crazy, especially in the day with social media. Your perception is absolutely huge. How people think about you and what people say about you is going to dictate what they tweet about you on Twitter. People are always bolder on Twitter anyway, so you know people are already not going to like it. When LeBron James did it, yes, he took a huge backlash as well, but then Twitter wasn't as advanced. Social media also wasn't as advanced as it is now. So you know the memes are going to be made of you. You know people are going to automatically talk trash about you every single time you look on social media. So that is the consequence that he is paying for making that decision to go to Golden State. When he made it, you should be, hey, I am happy. I just want to win a ring. And as long as you know that, you should be okay. But you know you're not going to have a lot of respect from a lot of people. And now he's seeing that players also aren't feeling him the same way. So what does CJ McCollum say? He also eventually came back later that night. He said, there is no feud, y'all. Got to chill. It was simply an analogy. I'm done speaking on KD and the Warriors because it's childish of me to do so and soft. It will be taken out of context. I've always said what I feel, but we all know I've never been a snake. Back to the grind. And then he posted 2 pictures, of course, of him working out and getting ready for the season. So a lot of things happened on Twitter about this podcast, essentially, and about how they feel towards each other. I don't think CJ McCollum really said anything wrong. I think he said a lot of things that people are really thinking. And if you are a player in the league and Kevin Durant decides to go to the Golden State Warriors, who are already viewed as, if not the best, one of the best teams in the NBA, but that year they're viewed as the best team. So you add Kevin Durant, who's also viewed as a top 3, maybe top 4 player in the NBA. You're not going to join up with them. You're a player. You're also going to feel some type of way. Of course, many of them aren't going to express it vocally because you still have PR you have to worry about, and you still have things you also got to worry about besides, just Kevin Durant's feelings. But, of course, a lot of the fans, they're extremely vocal about it. They will continue to be vocal about it. Kevin Durant, he needs to just figure out this is never going to go away unless he takes it upon himself to change the narrative and change how people view him. But just going on Twitter, clapping back at people, that's not going to get the job done. Now, I'm going on to another story, but staying on Kevin Durant. He was then asked about later during the interview how he felt about LeBron James joining the Lakers. And Kevin Durant, what he said, you kind of seen it coming, but Kevin Durant said he absolutely loved LeBron James joining the Lakers, basically saying that he had to do a move that he felt was best for him and his family. And of course, KD, he's going to always want to say every move is great. You can no longer criticize any move, no matter what it is, if you're Kevin Durant. If Kobe Bryant came back and decided to join the Lakers, which he's not, but say he is, Kevin Durant still will say, I absolutely love this move, because the perception of Kevin Durant is so negative, nobody's going to allow him now to say anything negative about any potential signing, period. So Kevin Durant backed himself into that corner. I expected him to pretty much say exactly what he said about LeBron James. And I think a lot of fans also are looking at this in a completely different situation. Kevin Durant, he went to Golden State. They were one of the best teams we've ever seen. LeBron James went to the Lakers. They haven't even made the playoffs in years. So that comparison is never really going to be there. Yes, you can always go back to the original decision that LeBron James made, and maybe you have more of an argument there. But LeBron James signing with the Lakers, absolutely different, especially now that you see with the moves the Lakers have made after that. They haven't went and signed any big-name free agents. They don't have any top 10 players on the roster besides LeBron James. So it's a completely different aspect. But KD, you could tell by the way he answers this and the way he kind of just views these, he wants other people to kind of compare LeBron James to him. It's not going to be the same, but he did say what you expect him to say. He absolutely loved LeBron James signing with the Lakers. Now, speaking of players signing places, we're going to go back to Dwyane Wade once again. So I reported last weekend he had an offer to go to China. He then got another offer, 3-year, $25 million to go play in China. Now, what we're hearing about that contract right now is that team is giving Dwyane Wade 2 to 3 days to decide on that contract, or they're going to rescind it and focus on other players with that same money. So now Dwyane Wade, he has a timetable and he has a few decisions to make. We also reported earlier that Dwyane Wade could potentially wait until right before training camp, maybe in September, early September, late September, to figure out if he's going to come back and if he's going to sign with the Miami Heat or not. If Dwyane Wade returns to the NBA, 99% chance it will be with the Miami Heat, as he already came out and said that's the only team organization that he will want to play for again, and he won't leave Miami. So you have to assume it's going to be Miami if he comes back to the Miami Heat. But that $5 million he wants per season is not going to happen with the Miami Heat. So if he goes back to Miami, of course, it's going to be on the veteran minimum scale, about that $2.4 million, maybe 2.5, 2.6, but it's going to be in that same range, the same ballpark. He's going to get the veteran minimum if he goes and plays for the Miami Heat. Or he can make way more money and go play in China, but I'm not sure if Dwyane Wade, if he truly wants to go play in China or not. You can see that hesitancy is definitely there. He likes playing in America. A lot of people do. Who's really trying to go to China if you could stay in the NBA? So Dwyane Wade, he has a few decisions to make, and he has 2 to 3 days reportedly to make this decision if he wants to go play in China or not. If he doesn't decide in those 2 to 3 days, his offer, from what we're hearing, will be rescinded, and that team will then focus on other players, either bringing China or other players within their own country to try to sign. But Dwyane Wade, 2 to 3 days to decide on that deal. Definitely be interesting to see what he does decide to do at the end of the day. Now, one player who is returning to the game of basketball after a long layoff, Lamar Odom. He just announced on Twitter and Instagram that he will be returning to the game of basketball, and he will be playing in China. So Dwyane Wade, he doesn't know if he wants to go to China or not. Lamar Odom, he is packing his bags. He is getting ready to go play in China. Now, Lamar Odom has not seen any NBA action since the 2012-2013 NBA season. Yes, he has been out of basketball entirely that long, and without getting into all of his personal details, we all know a lot of the life circumstances and events that Lamar Odom has been through since he's been out of the NBA. But now it looks like he's trying to get back into basketball. And the only thing you could hope for from Lamar Odom is that this helps him in his life. His life has definitely been on a downward spiral since essentially being traded from the Lakers. Things didn't work out for him in Dallas. Things really didn't work out for him again with the Clippers. So ever since he got traded from the Lakers in the 2010-2011 season, things that kind of went downhill for Lamar Odom. Hopefully, like I said, he could get things back in track. The last time we seen him, he averaged 4 points a game for the Los Angeles Clippers. The year before that, he averaged 6 points a game for the Dallas Mavericks. The year before that was Lamar Odom we were used to, with him averaging 14 points a game. But he will be going down to China. That's what he announced on his own personal Instagram as well as his own Twitter. Like I said, you just wish the dude the best, man. And hopefully basketball can help change his life and he can find that joy again in something that you do. A lot of these athletes, a lot of players, once you're done playing what you grew up playing, you go through that period where you're lost. You don't know exactly what you want to do. So hopefully going back and being able to do that, of course, during his Instagram, he thanks Stephon Marbury for helping him come to this decision to go to China. And you know, for Marbury, it helped him out a lot going and playing down in China. So hopefully he does the same thing for Lamar Odom and he enjoys his time playing in China. But you guys, let me know how you guys feel about today's show. That is all we have. Let me know how you guys feel about it either in the comment section below if you're watching it on YouTube. If not, let me know how you guys feel about it on my Twitter at DLloydTV. Make sure you guys go ahead and follow me there. That is everything I have for today's episode. It's your boy DLloyd. Let me see y'all next time. Peace.